Due to the enormous complexities of the experimental overhead surround, and doing some recalibrating level matching, because there is a slight difference between switching that's only due to voltage output sort of thing, which is simple to adjust. Complex. Had to put sine wave tone and using the REM and using the left, down here. If I go on the REM, let's put a bit of that, let's make it a bit easier to focus. So using the multi-channel stereo output. So I've been saying, got to use that for calibrating. You got to use full band wave, full mode, full band. Using the SPL weighting, A and C weighting, and orientating it around, moving its position around, so it's focus over, where I need to focus, and adjust and make some necessary calculation. The frequency response coming into the speaker is going to be full spectrum, so I'm not really too bothered at the moment, just checking with RTA. I don't want to go that far, crying out loud. I could, but it would take an enormous amount of hours. So that's the left surround, and it's only outputting down here, because I'm there to there. So obviously I would hear that. It's slightly over, and then I'm between. But that's never the case in a cinema. You're always going to be on top of something, something that's artificial, Man invents, man thinks he wants to listen to it, be immersed, and all this other gobbledygook. You could do dozens of things around with just pink noise in a loudspeaker's position and try and make sound diffused, like it seems like it's completely all there. It's just, for one single channel, discrete, and another channel discrete, and you just merge it, if you know what I mean, morph it, merge it together. And so what about bloody comb filtering? God's sakes, we hear comb filtering in day to day on when we go out in the bloody real world. Put a sock in it, alright? As long as you get levels matched, as long as their polarities are matched, so the signals all sum up. Anyway, so it's very complex, because so just a few. I'd rather make a slight increase to the surround output, which I've kind of had to boost up a bit, because one's sort of like got different output level, so I just have to balance the level. That's all it is. It's not a big deal. So put it over that side. It sounds a little bit different. I can hear it. Clear as a bell. And if I get out of the seat and then stand up, the frequency changes and start moving around and walking around, So everything's got its own EQ. So everything's got its own EQ here and that. So it's like, which, do it more. Well, if I had a bit more time, I've got a lot of time, more than most. So it'd be better if I'd have had it all, but it would be enormously expensive just to put all those surround speakers literally on their own amplifier. I could cut corners, make it a little bit simplified, but I was going to use the CP45s and use their but I thought, nah. Anyway, I can't move away from that. These are a bit like I say, they are the Dolby CP45. They got slight ear kind of snags on their input, so when turning the voltage level up with a sine wave, left is always coming up first, This is like what you do on Audio Science Review. You know, this is all about the science, not objective and all this bullshit. If you know what I mean with that other like group, whatever. Bloody hell, all they do is talk, and they don't show you any bloody action. Just four guys talking, yapping, and then one guy yapping about bloody Lamborghinis and Ferraris. What the bloody hell's that got to do with any of this? Get my point? So I noticed that the level always comes up, always on every single. I've got 4 of these. It even did it on the CP45s, because they are the CP45s. I could put a signal, you know, because I got left and right signals going in with the, you know, the tone. I mean, I could just wire the things differently at the back, undo the what's it here, undo that, and just make just use one wire input and then make a loop so it goes into the next channel. So I'm basically using the same output of, say, a left or a right signal. That left is still going to come up too early. It's like, I'm thinking, and then I've got to make bloody adjustments down here on the potonium meters. Put all the levels up at max on the. Put all the levels up max over the other channels. I haven't done the other channels yet because I'm only doing the basics. Yeah, it's like, yeah. I mean, didn't Dolby Labs were aware of this, weren't they? Blooming aware. I thought their goal was precision and all that, but I think this is where like THX came in. You know, like Tom Holman says, like, Dolby's got like a pack of electronics, blah blah blah. But we wanted to go further, which is how that was formed. Too bad a lot of people kind of like, you know, giving it a bit of a raw deal sort of rub at the end of the bloody day. And now, bloody hell, you know what the state of cinema sound like today with all this atmosphere? Doesn't sound very good. Every bloody time I go to BH2 downtown, it's just ear deafening. I'll put bloody earplugs in. God's sake. So whoever done the tuning on that, it's got... shouldn't even be near any of this equipment. So yeah, I'm thinking, why is it so, you know, funny now? It could be this board here. It can only be resistors. It can only be a contribute to resistors. I know right back here. It's about there. That's where the input comes in roughly. Could be a few components there and their values are slightly, you know, different or whatever. You know, they should all be equal, so when you get a sine wave tone coming in, it should indicate at the same time, and when you turn the level down, the level should go down. It looks okay on, say, near enough. Let's put an equal signal. Just swap it for a sine wave tone. And the levels go down, level goes up, level goes down, level goes up, level goes down, level goes up. That's what the CP, that's what the those things, that's what these should be doing. It does it the same thing on there, and I've got to make freaking other alignment adjustments. Oh, it's a pain in the ass. I'm not going to tell you how many dB out of alignment it is. But it's solvable at the end of the day. It is solvable. But I don't know how and why bloody Dolby Labs couldn't have got off their bloody lazy asses and put it bloody right in the first place. Makes me wonder about all their other processors, you know. I mean, this CP750 is not exactly brilliant. If this messes up, crikey, spare parts for that, crikey, like needle in a haystack. These STDSs, I think they're pretty good. Of course, how lazy, I don't know. That is, do I see what I see there? But is it what I see? See, you've got to test the outputs. Put the outputs onto an analyzer, RTA. And then also a voltmeter, and then check for the levels are the same. If they're slightly different, then well, it's solvable. Put a little variable resistor in between, making sure that it's got the k ohm, that is the k ohm, the resistance k ohm is suitable, and then just put that component in between the outputs or whatever, and then just fine tune it until you got bam, all the levels exactly the same. Simple. You don't have to go to this stupid audiophile garbage trash, bloody cables costing this bloody amount of money, thinking, oh, that's going to make a sounding difference. Oh, right, sure. My cats can come in. They could tamper with the wiring in here, you know. I often goes through my mind thinking, have they been in there and had a go at something? Because I've got to check everything, you know, all the time. It's just the same as if you go on the radio. Check everything, your radio equipment, say okay, your SWR, the output power and everything. Make a log, you know, a logbook that this is how it was this day when you first installed, and then it checks out okay this second, third and fourth, and then you get a rainy week or something, and then you notice the SWR level changing, okay, because water may have got possibly inside through the into the base coil as such, but it evaporate eventually. But now you think, I've got to take everything down again and make sure and do thorough, make sure all the joins are sealed with so that, you know, and then probably test it with I suppose get a hose pipe on it and give it a good old going over and see if any water gets in it, or just generally check in to see if the SWR changes or stays the same. You know, you can do scientific tests. Unlike that bloody lousy Russet group. Oh god, I don't know why people would trust their money with guys that like, oh, we're professionals, we do home cinema installations, blah blah blah, and all they do is one guy then yapping about bloody cooking, Lamborghinis, fine bloody Swiss watches. God's sakes. Oh, it's all got one thing in common. Oh, we're only catering for rich people now, not poor class. We only supply a Trinnov to rich people. And seeing how that Trinnov is constructed, oh my god, it's laughable. It looks like it was made in China, not France. That Technics up there is 9090. Thomas and Holman, he had was partly involved with that design, and he said to me, oh gosh, I wouldn't mind one of those again. Yeah, but you know, he's got other things on his mind. But I have to say, that Technics is pretty well built, well designed, and it's still intact. I had a volume issue that I solved in less than an hour. But there's other things, you know. There's always, you know, unforeseeables. You know, they're very difficult, and sometimes it takes several people, and you got to be like, you got to all be thinking on the same page, same frequency. You can't have one that's going to be slightly, you know, you've got to have this standard and all that. You got to have to meet that standard. First time, second time, every time. It's like I read somewhere that THX were once very picky about one cinema. It had about a 1 dB, or there was something that was out by about 1 dB, and they were extremely picky about it. You know, things have got to be bam on, spot on. You know, never mind about bloody Lamborghini, bloody rubbish. I'm sure a Lamborghini, if you put that through for a test, it's probably so on the bloody piss. And then you got to get some specialist that will likes doing these sort of things to put it right, and probably improve it without necessarily spending way too much, and then say, here you go, improved. So what I've got to do is, you know, go through, pink noise every speaker one bit at a time, and then put all this total left side all on at the same time, and then do the other side, and then put them all on at the same time, and then look at the SPL level reading, pink noise. And I had to make some level adjustments, so yeah, it's a bit tricky, but I like to go over it again, because there's some things that I'm not very satisfied with, even though I got the levels the same, so I could switch on the switcher up there to height 1, height 2 and height 3 for Dolby Atmos whenever it's played here now, which is going to be very little now, very little. And so if I go over to the other mode, which is on, I think at the moment, I think it is, yeah, it's on B mode. Up there it's on B mode. Not there. The idea is I want to get a pink noise that's kind of equal all around here over to this seat, and get it kind of like it's, you know, but the closer you move to a speaker, it then sounds like a loudspeaker, you know. But with nature, it's a little bit different sometimes, but depending on what type of nature, if you listen to a waterfall and it's making that noise, we're kind of, and you know, that sound it makes, yeah, depending on what scale of size the waterfall is, and you get nearer to it, then sound all changes. It totally different point of view of the sound. You get nearer to it, it changes. Which is what you want in movie soundtracks sometimes, and sound picture continuity with proper sound continuity, you know, so it doesn't look like it's just some BS fabricated film. It's like, oh wow, I think they spent a bit of more effort on this one, you know. It's trying to create psychoacoustic illusion. If I put the surround output, I can connect it on here. I'm just going to turn that sine wave off. I could put headphones on here, headphone monitor. Can't do it on the AVR because you put it in it to switch off, and it folds the sound down, whereas I can plug it on this Sony. I can then mute other channels, or I could mute the amplifiers and then listen to the surrounds on the headphones, whilst I can have the level adjusted on the volume headphone there, and I can listen to the sound coming from the screen channels and listen to it on the headphones, and I can move this way, that way. The surrounds are going to stay the same. But once you play it in a room over a loudspeaker, it doesn't matter how good the bloody loudspeaker really is. It really doesn't. You move it, do that, it changes. What the fuck? What do you expect? I mean, do you expect to sit in a seat like this? That's how I see most people in their home theatre sometimes. They're almost like bloody catatonic, like dope, drugged. Me, I do that. I respond, I react, I acknowledge the sound. Whereas everyone else is just like bloody vegetabilised, catatonic. Really, I don't know why they spent all that money on it. Oh, all people listen differently, I suppose. I'll be surprised if I were to quiz them how, you know, because I'll be observing it, I'll be making note of it on paper or video, and then I'll quiz them. I'll catch them out. They can't blag it. I'll catch them out. You know, there's only very few people, and this sort of thing is called, I think, read somewhere in an article, oh gosh, decades ago in a magazine somewhere, Dolby Laboratories noticed this sort of thing with maybe between the mid 70s, early 80s, and they called it the Dolby Stereo participation. I'm not sure if I could even find it even in maybe an article somewhere in a PDF file. But that's what I seem to remember reading. It said Dolby Stereo participation. Because people were reacting, you know, just like you see these YouTube videos and you've got two people and they're like, oh crikey, reacting to a movie they'd never seen before. Yeah, I find that rather hard to believe. And then again, it might be true, but they might be just trying to get their channel subscribers and all this up just so they can make money. Oh, really? Otherwise, they ain't really reacting to that movie. Good gosh golly. They haven't even got a proper home theatre. A proper one that can do all sound formats. Not a Trinnov, don't need any of that. But really, they're not reacting. They're only half reacting to it. Like, are they reacting to the sound? Doesn't look like it. They're just like looking at the image. They're watching it on a laptop or something, and they do a, share the video image with when they're being videoed. Oh gosh, and they can't. Like, I don't know. Save it. But everyone's different. Everyone is different, but some are still aware of things. They may be the other thing I call it is like people that are kind of like listen like that. They only hear the sound. They're not listening. I only was more or less the same before I become a listener, and that was only 1987. Movie Platoon. Before then, I kind of heard the sound. If something was kind of really like panned hard over somewhere, I'd kind of like think, earthquake. I'm kind of doing a reaction to earthquake when I saw it in 70mm six-track sensor round downtown, and there was this big earth slide. I kind of look like over that side of the auditorium. Is that one of those? Is that another one of those damn earth slides? Damn, that's a scary sound. And I was looking over one side of the, but everything else when that sensor round was going boom, 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 and bass kind of going backwards and forwards, and doing forward, back sort of thing. It's not the same on Blu-ray, 4K, whatever, because it's only a single LFE. Sensor round had a generated sort of thing and time sequencing or whatever, and it was doing a forward back because there was this very strange but kind of shifting low bass. But I wouldn't know that back then. I wouldn't even think that word, low bass and all that. But now, over years of it, learning and experience, and then I wish I never got into this hobby or this interest. I really, really prefer just piece of paper, draw, look at something, draw it, and get some watercolour paints and start painting it, I could do that again. I've got watercolours. I could put a bit of paper, draw something, and then start painting, and then mixing colours. I could do that again. Anyway, it's just like this. Sound or not, it's like mixing. It's getting the balance of everything and then checking the colours of the frequency response, But that speaker's there, that's there, over there. They're all different. Of course, there's two seats. There's like seating in auditoriums. And this is how speakers are supposed to be placed, even in a home cinema that's got multi-seats. You should have speakers, two in the corner, over there. Not that like that, but normally one there and then one on the opposite side. So it's slightly behind that seat row, and then another speaker slightly in front. Okay, so they get a kind of diffused sound, And of course that speaker there then serves for this seating row, and another speaker there slightly in front, and you get a diffused sound. That's how it's supposed to work. And then of course with the back, the other two, I can make those work with proper Dolby Stereo configuration, just like this one down here. And all I have to do is just keep it in that mode. If I open it up and then switch that, get a little LED on there, and then do that, then it's in EX mode. Push that in, and then that's in normal original configuration. Whereas the speakers were really wired to a couple of amplifiers or more, or sometimes they'll do some parallel or maybe serious wiring between over there and there. That's going back decades, of course, but then you come up to sort of like modern day times and then you think, how can we do this? Oh, I don't know, let's have something like a logic circuit switching, so it'll switch, so you know, it'll just do a switching mode. That's all it is. That's all it is on there. It's a modified, where CP45 can't do that. You'd have to hardwire it all, so to speak. Or you could put one of those in line, which is basically a CP45. Or you just really need that switching circuit. So even that's muted at the moment. It'll probably sound too loud because I've got to realign it. Oh, actually it's a little bit on the soft side, but I'm not sure if you can hear it. That just needs a realignment, so I've got to realign that. So I could use this surround configuration and oh gosh, I could duplicate or mimic, say like CIC UCI Tower Park or Odeon screen number 1. Of course I'd have to make some just specific adjustments to the overheads, some other specific adjustments because they had 6 overheads in that auditorium. That's one there, one there, one there, the middle, no, and then near towards the back, one over there, one over there, and one over there. It had that sort of configuration. Tower Park, even though I'm a bit shy, they had 4 in their larger auditoriums. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've only got 1, 2, and 3, just like most would have. But total number is 9 overheads. Total is 9. So even like the smaller auditoriums, there was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 when you go a little bit further into the auditorium, and then on odd 7th that was placed right at the back, far end back of the auditorium, near the back row seating, near to the entrance door. Personally, I wouldn't even sit in that position. God's sakes, why they even bother putting seating that far back in the auditorium when it's just going to sound absolute awful, particularly for stereo LCR. It's just going to be too narrow. You get to hear the sound, but you're not going to be listening to it. So if that sort of thing. But the overhead thing itself, it worked. Pretty remarkable for back then. And wow, that's something that's been virtually retired for nearly 25 years, and I've kind of resurrected it because I got fed up with this Dolby DSU taking sound from the front, left and right, and it just puts it over the overheads, and it does the same sort of thing as what I'm doing at the moment. It's only stereo, so you only get stereo and you only get side to side panning. You don't get sound going from there to there or from there to there. It doesn't do any of that. There are ways around that.